Hello, everyone. My name's Gemma. I'm a children's wellbeing practitioner for the RISE mental health support team. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar on supporting your child with school transitions. We also have Sophie, a children's wellbeing practitioner, who will be in the questions and answers function. So if you do have any questions, if you just want to let her know in that, she'll also be putting some questions out along the way whilst we're doing the presentation today. Okay, so you can find us online, RISE, for any support around mental health. We have Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and also a website which has lots of resources. And they're just down the side of the page there if you'd like to visit in your own time. Okay, so just to let you guys know that cameras and microphones are disabled for the duration of the session. Like I say, the questions and answer function is available and will be monitored by the lovely Sophie. Any questions or queries following this session, please email us at risenortheast@childrensociety.org.uk. And I'll just leave that slide up for a few seconds, just if you do want to get that email address jotted down, I'll give you some time to do that. Okay, so just starting with today's agenda. So what does transition actually mean? We're going to look at unhelpful thoughts and how to challenge them, how to support your child to work through worries, also looking at some coping techniques and preparing for school. So what does transition actually mean? So transition is basically a period of change. And what we're just going to move on to is thinking about what would happen if nothing ever changed for your young person, if they stayed in the same class with the same peers. And this is something that you can obviously ask your young people at home as well. So if they were to obviously stay in the same school, stay in the same class where they felt comfortable, they're probably going to get bored being in the same place day in, day out. They're probably going to outgrow class. They're going to obviously want to expand their knowledge. They wouldn't get to meet new people. They'll be stuck around the same sort of peer group. They wouldn't learn new things. They wouldn't develop their interests. They would possibly get anxious going to new places just because they've not experienced that before. And they may not be able to develop resilience because they've not experienced any challenges. And they may also struggle with independence. So worrying about change is very normal and we all feel scared sometimes. Thinking of upcoming changes can cause us mixed emotions. But thinking about what changes your young person's already been through, and this can be something to sort of talk to them about, like you've already been through changes in your life. Remember, we've moved home, or remember a time that you had to move seat in class. If they've had a new class or a new teacher, a baby brother or a sister, or cousins, the first time they went on holiday or the first time they stayed away from home, trying new hobbies, after school clubs. Think about like how did they feel at the time? So ask them how they felt when they first did that at the first day they tried something new. And how does that feel now? So just thinking about how changes can sometimes feel really uncomfortable at the beginning, but we can get used to them pretty quickly. Um, so thinking about the tolerating uncertainty, our brains absolutely love certainty. It's more comfortable to know ahead of time that things are going to go well. But dealing with uncertainty is unavoidable and it happens daily, and we can't unfortunately see into the future. I think we'd all be millionaires if we could. And with anxiety and worry, what that basically equals is overestimating the danger that's in front of us, as well as underestimating our ability to cope with the situation. It's normal to experience some worry around period of change, especially big changes like going to a new school. Sometimes the worries can get so big that it can be hard to cope, and that's when we might need some support from obviously parents, school. So just an activity to maybe try with your young person. If you want to give it a try yourself as well. So if you cross your arms the way you would normally cross them, see how that feels. Now try and cross them the opposite way. It's difficult to do the first time. But how does it feel? If you try to do it again and again, would it get easier? Wouldn't feel so weird, it wouldn't feel so different. This is what it's like when we keep going with change. It might feel really difficult at the beginning and a little bit unnatural, but the more we do it, the more we feel comfortable with it. So, like I say, it's a good activity to do with young people if they are struggling with change and just the concept of change, and obviously pushing through and moving on with anything that we find challenging. So looking a little bit at the mental health cycle, there are three main aspects to our mental health. So our thoughts, emotions, and behaviours. When we have anxious thoughts that focus on uncertainties and things that could go wrong, it affects how we feel and react. And that becomes a bit of a cycle. So if your young person is worried about going to a new school, they might be thinking, oh, it's going to be really big. I'm not going to know anyone. That's going to make them feel a certain way. I would assume those thoughts are going to make a young person feel maybe a little bit anxious, a little bit worried or scared, and that's going to lead to behaviours such as wanting to avoid certain situations or control certain situations. But if we follow through with those behaviours, unfortunately, the cycle continues. So what we try and do is either challenge thoughts or challenge behaviours, and we'll look a little bit more into that in a bit. But that's basically the main concept of our mental health and the mental health cycle. Also going to look at some unhelpful thinking traps. So we all have unhelpful thinking styles at times, and you may recognize some of these thinking styles in yourself. So we've got catastrophizing. So catastrophizing is when you believe that the worst possible outcome will definitely happen, and it's sometimes like snowballs. So I won't know anyone. I'll be completely alone in secondary school or in my new school. And like I say, it's something that like normally snowballs. So it's like, this is going to happen, and then that's going to happen, and then that's going to happen. So that snowball effect is normally called catastrophizing. And sometimes it's really useful to know these types of thinking traps and to ask our young people when they're sort of having worries and you recognize a thinking trap, for to be maybe what type of thinking trap do you think you're using? Is that helpful? Just for them to recognize that maybe the way they're thinking at the minute might not be useful. There's also fortune telling. So that's when you sort of predict that something bad will happen in the future, even when there's no evidence for it. So for example, I'll say something wrong in front of everyone, so I'm not going to put my hand up. Perfectionism is when you expect yourself to be perfect and get upset when you make even a small mistake. So like 99 out of 100 isn't good enough. It has to be 100. Mind reading. So that's when you think that you know what others are thinking or feeling without asking them. For example, everyone can tell I'm nervous and think I'm a baby. Or if you wave at somebody in the street and they don't wave back, you'll think, oh, they mustn't like us anymore. That sort of thing. And then we've got black and white thinking, which is when you see things as all good or all bad. There's no in between. So, for example, I didn't talk to many people on my transition day, so I'm not going to have any friends. It's like, you know, certain, absolutely, it's not going to happen. So, how to support your child with these changes and with these worries? Just going to play a little video around thought challenging. It's called Catch It, Check It, Change It. And this is something that we do with the young people that we work directly with. And it can just be really helpful to help them look at the way that they're thinking, check it and change it. So I'll just get that playing for you now.
Hello. Today I would like to talk to you about thought challenging, or catch it, check it, change it. We know that negative thoughts can profoundly impact our emotional well-being, and changing our thoughts to more helpful or balanced ones can actually be the first step in improving how we see ourselves and the world. Thought challenging doesn't come naturally to our brains because they're hardwired to ensure our survival. We sometimes believe those negative or unhelpful thoughts, even though there is no evidence to prove them. But the good news is that with practice, thought challenging can improve things. This is where catch it, check it, change it comes in. Firstly, we need to be aware of any negative thoughts which can lead to negative feelings or behaviours. What is it you're worried about? What is the negative thought? This is the catch it step. Then we check it. This is the part where we reflect on the thought, and this does take practice. So we take the thought and weigh up the evidence. Is it true or false? It can also be helpful to think, what would I say to a friend who had this thought? It's good to know that unhelpful thoughts are often untrue. Finally, we change it. This is where we replace the earlier unhelpful thought with a more balanced one. This can then impact more positively on our feelings and our subsequent behaviours. Thought challenging is not about seeing everything in our lives as perfect or amazing. That just wouldn't be true. What it means is not automatically believing all the negative thoughts we have about ourselves and situations in our lives. Thank you for listening. We hope this has been helpful. If it has, please share this knowledge with others to support their emotional well-being.
Okay, so that video is actually available on our YouTube channel as well as our website. So if you want to show it to your young people just to help them get an idea of how they can thought challenge and how they can catch it, check it, change it, then absolutely, like I say, feel free to have a look on our website or have a look on YouTube. And we do have some other resources as well on there that might be helpful to use alongside the catch it, check it, change it. Okay. So some other things that you can do with your young person is spend some time with them completing a reflections worksheet. So just thinking about what was their favourite parts of school, being quite positive about the favourite parts, and what are they proud of? Because I think sometimes young people sometimes go towards maybe the negative things about themselves and they don't think about the positive. So thinking about what they might be proud of and what they've achieved, and then obviously things that they've achieved and learned at school and what challenges they've overcome. Like I say, these workshops are available on our website. So if you would like a copy of this worksheet, then feel free. Also, this video has been recorded and will be put on our YouTube page. So if there is anything that you want to check back on, then feel free to have a little look on the YouTube page and get the video back up. Okay, so just having a think about worrying for yourself. How much time a day do you spend worrying? Do you feel better afterwards? The same, worse? Does it change or solve anything? And how can we manage this? So these are actually really good questions that we can ask our young people as well. Bearing that in mind and thinking of these questions, how helpful is actually worrying? So looking at statistics, does everything we worry about always come true? So about 91% of worries are false alarms. Out of the remaining 9%, around a third had better outcomes than expected. So looking at these actual statistics, ask yourself now, maybe, how helpful do you find worrying? How much time do you spend worrying? Has worrying ever changed the outcome? Sometimes seeing it in this frame, seeing like actual facts about our worries can be really helpful, and showing these resources obviously to our young people as well, so they know. And I think as well, we have around 6,000 thoughts a day, so they're not always going to be positive, unfortunately. And to be fair, the majority of our thoughts are negative thoughts. So it's just worth letting our young people know that as well. So another tool that's really useful for young people is something called the worry tree. So it's a tool that we can use to organise our worries and come up with solutions where possible. So it can be helpful to work through each branch of the worry tree to decide if there's something you can support your child to do and help them come up with the best solution. So you basically just start at the bottom of the tree. So ask yourself, what am I worrying about? And then ask yourself, can I do anything about it? This is really useful as well to think about like what the young person can and can't control, because unfortunately there are worries that we do have that we don't have any control over. I'm thinking like things about the environment, maybe, just things that maybe are out of our control. So it's a good way to be, yes, I can do something about it. No, I can't do something about it. If the young person feels like they can do something about it, list all possible solutions with pros and cons, then choose a solution, make a plan, carry out your plan. Did it work? Yes, no, solved your worry. Also, it might be good to have a little part in here as well, like, is there a time that I can make a plan? Because it might not be that a young person or yourself can come up with a plan there and then on the spot. So think about a time when I can make a plan can also work as well. So if it is a worry that we don't have any control over, we'll still follow the worry tree. So ask yourself, what am I worrying about? Ask yourself, can I do anything about it? If it isn't something that we can do about anything about, then we'll look at doing something to distract ourselves from that worry. So it might be that your young person has hobbies that they enjoy doing. So maybe he's watching TV, colouring in, reading a book. I know a lot of young people really like playing video games, listening to music, spending time with pets, going for a walk, or playing an instrument if they do. Other things that we usually do with our young people is play distraction games. So what would you do if you had a superpower? What would you do if you won the lottery? Another one that's really good that isn't actually listed on here is A to Z of like foods or drinks, or if they've got like a passion for something in particular. I don't know if it's cars or something. Can you think of the A to Z of different cars? Or so yeah, you can make it tailored to the young person's enjoying activities and what they enjoy. Another thing as well is colours. So look around the room and see if you can find 10 things the colour blue, 10 things the colour red. It's just things to distract them in the moment. So thinking about types of worries, we've got hypothetical worries. So hypothetical worries are usually about the future and what might happen. Usually they're about things we don't have control over. Often these worries begin with a what if statement. So you might have heard that quite a bit. What if this happens? What if that happens? We can find ourselves getting overwhelmed and stuck in a cycle of worrying about things we can't control. And because we can't do anything about these worries, it's important that we let them go. Finding something to distract you from the worry can be really helpful. So, like we were saying before, it's about thinking about worries that we can and can't control. So, a lot of the time, hypothetical worries we can't control. So, it's useful to try and think of what we can do in those moments to distract from those worries. And doing things like the games can really distract because you're having to use your brain. So, that's why it can be quite helpful. Some more ideas to help your child if they feel worried. So there's lots of skills we can use to help deal with worries. Some might work better than others, but they need to try them out to see if they find them useful. Some are physical, some are breathing techniques, and some are our minds. So if you want to have a little go of it now, the first two. So we've got hot chocolate breathing. So if you want to pretend that you've got your hands wrapped around a big mug of hot chocolate, think of the ones that you get from like Costa and Starbucks, the massive ones that are like bowls. If you just want to close your eyes and then for 4 seconds, breathe in through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, smelling that hot chocolate. And then when we breathe out, we want to cool that hot chocolate down. So we're breathing out for 4. And again, so we're going to breathe in and smell that hot chocolate. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to cool that hot chocolate down with our breath and we're going to blow. And then we also have palm pushing. This is a more physical activity that can be really helpful and it can help us relax a little bit if we're feeling quite tense. So what we would do if you want to give it a little go while I'm talking is face your palms together, just like it's shown on the screen, and then just push them firmly and hold for 10 seconds not to the point where it's hurting, just where you can feel that tension, and then let go. And then you should feel your arms feeling quite relaxed after that. And that can be really helpful, like I say, when we're feeling tense. And it can be used in other parts of the body as well. So we can tense other body muscles, we can tense our whole body at the same time. Again, so distraction. When we can't do anything about our thoughts and worries, it's sometimes useful to distract ourselves. So we've been through, like I say, some of the activities that we can do. And just a little reminder there, the A to Z, find 5 things for every letter of the alphabet, find 10 things in the same colour. There's also like Disney movies. Like I say, you can make it more tailored to your young person. Another really good one. So RIP. So get all of the anxious and angry thoughts out of your mind by writing them all down on a piece of paper, or they can write them down on single pieces of paper. When they've written them all down, rip the paper into tiny pieces and put it in the bin and forget about it, hopefully. Also, we've got some problem solving plans on our website if you want to give them a go. So basically going through the problem solving plan. It's a little bit like the worry tree. So the worry tree does work really well with younger people, but if your young person is a little bit older and you don't think the worry tree would be as good for them, you could possibly use the My Problem Solving Plan. So you just go through step one, what is the problem? Step two, brainstorming, what solutions are there? And then I'll show you a little example in a second. But then just go through the pros and cons for each solution. And all the solutions, it can be as crazy as they want it to be. So if it's, I don't know, if they don't want to go to school that day, it could be like, oh, there's a snowstorm, or so it's just whatever comes into the brains. Obviously, we wouldn't choose the snowstorm solution because that probably won't happen, but just let them use their imagination a little bit just to make it more fun. So here's a little bit of a plan here. So worry, I will not make friends in my new school. What are my possible solutions? So solution one, make sure I attend the transition day. What is the pro to this? Meet people before school starts, might feel less intense. What are the cons to this? I'll be with my school and so might not mingle. Other people from schools might mingle. And then we've got another solution, attend summer school. The pros to that, meet people before school starts or less intense, more chances to mingle, fun activities. And then we've obviously got the con of that, so might feel like work, have to work during the holidays. And then we've got another solution, so find out who I can talk to at school if this worry does come true so they can help me. And then we've got pros, know my support team at a new school, and then cons are I have to wait until school starts and might be alone for a couple of weeks. Friendships might have formed by then. So it's about, like I say, thinking of all the possible solutions, pros and cons, weighing up the one that you feel is best for you, for your young person, and what they feel is best for them. And how to make your young person feel more prepared before they start school. So maybe help them get to know their new school, practice and time the new route. So if they have to get a bus or a metro or a walk, maybe practice it over the summer and see how it feels, see how long it takes, just so they feel quite confident with it. Plan their morning routine if they haven't already got a plan already. I don't know if it maybe the new school starts a little bit earlier or they need to leave a little bit earlier, plan the routine around that. Make sure that they've got the right uniform and equipment so they're not worried. And obviously talking to other people, so talking to their peers, talking to parents and carers can be really helpful. So just opening up sort of conversations with them about maybe how they're feeling about going to the new school. Sometimes it can be quite difficult for young people to bring those sorts of conversations up. So the day before, what could be helpful is maybe encourage your child to sort of put their uniform out themselves so they're feeling quite independent, getting their own bag ready, reminder of new school route, set alarm, think about like positive thoughts, some affirmation work, possibly like thinking about all the sort of good things that they've got going on at the minute, and then doing a common activity the night before. So it could be like reading a book before bed, doing a little bit of colouring before bed. Lego as well, as long as it's quite calming, can be quite useful, or like listening to some meditation or some chilled out music can be helpful as well. And also just encouraging positive thinking. So maybe thinking about their worries and fears, what they're looking forward to, what the next year is going to possibly look like, and then encourage them maybe to have a positive mantra. So like a positive mantra could be, I can do this, I've got this, everything's going to be fine. Something that they can refer back to if they are feeling a little bit anxious, just to give them a little bit of confidence and a little bit of positivity. Another thing that's really useful is my star qualities. So sometimes it can be hard to recognize our own strengths, and we often find it easier to identify what we like about other people rather than ourselves. So this activity can be done with you guys as a family, or they can be done with the friends. And basically what they do is write their name in the middle of the star and pass it round to friends or family. And each person then writes down a positive quality that they admire about the young person. And this can really help support self-esteem and confidence, especially if your young person is having self-critical thoughts. Again, these resources you should be able to find on our website if you do want to do them with your young person. So just some take-home messages. Worrying about change is totally normal, and it happens to us all throughout life. We all worry about change when it's happening. But after a little while, we do get used to change. Identifying and challenging unhelpful thoughts can help us cope with changes. You can use distraction and problem solving to support your child with any worries, and you can help them to feel as prepared as possible and reflect on their achievements and or positive qualities. So these are just some other organisations that we recommend, useful links to support children and young people with their mental health. So we have Mind, then there is Children North East, Cooth, The Mix, Young Minds, Papyrus, and then obviously ourselves, the RISE Mental Health Support Team. I'll just leave that link on there for a few more seconds, just if you do want to get a picture or if you want to jot any of the websites down. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today for the webinar. We'd absolutely love your feedback. So we have a QR code there if you're able to scan that. If not, we also have a link, and I'm pretty sure Sophie's going to put the link as well in the questions and answers.